My name is Laura Weber. My husband and I started coming to TBC last August. I grew up in the church. My family went to a Church of Christ church. I grew up going Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, church camps, retreats, all of that. My parents weren't too stoked about carrying out their Christian faith in a evangelistic type way. We just didn't really have a lot of talks about feelings and faith and spirituality. Those were mostly had with my grandparents. They were always so welcoming to me, and they found it really, really important to share their faith and their spirituality with me and teach me that. As I got into high school, I started making some pretty adult mistakes that I was pretty ashamed of, and the culture of the people around me was less about grace and more about being more like Jesus, which is incredibly impossible. I could never live up to it. And I think when I went to college at a Christian university, I was offered an alternate reality of basically, I'm God. If we're all just bacteria on this earth and a rock spinning in the middle of nowhere, what does it matter? I might as well just be in charge of my life, and then there's no shame. I remember saying that, there's no way I can ever flip back. There's no way. I already know that God isn't real and that it's all just a big old story to control people, and there's no way I'll ever turn back. There were some amazing things that happened in my life during that time. I had my son who's 8, and he is the greatest gift. And I think him coming into my life made me want to start seeking what was true. In 2017, I got a divorce, and it was life-shattering. I was just very, very lost, very, very broken. I was very proud to be an atheist at that point. I was surrounded by a bunch of other people that were like-minded, and I met TJ, my now husband, during that time, and he was raised Catholic, going to church and whatnot. I found peace in knowing he wasn't gonna judge me for the way I thought, and I wasn't gonna judge him, and we were just gonna live life, not get married, but like partners, We'd gone through several phases. I mean, we went through our, we think crystals have powers phase. We went through tarot cards and psychics and, all this kind of other thing to try to find meaning in life. And then somehow we settled in homesteading. We were let's get some chickens and a big giant garden, and we're gonna make the most of this urban farming type thing. We started watching YouTubers. They're just this older couple that have this homestead, and at the end of every episode, they say this little prayer, and at first it made me want to puke because their videos were so educational. I had to watch it, and I don't know what happened, but that little prayer at the end grew on TJ and me. It was I saw evil in contrast to the sweetness and the kindness of this humble family, and I loved it. So I'm like, TJ, do you have a Bible? He's like, yeah, somewhere up in the attic. I'll go get it. So he got it down, and I started reading it, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna kind of get into Jesus, TJ. I think I'm gonna look into it. So every night, we'd sit on the porch, and I'd tell him what I read about in the Bible that day. It was a week later, he's like, we gotta find a church. I'm with you, we're all in. Our lives changed in ways that can't be explained. We found this church through a YouTube video, and it was just we only had to try one church. We had been looking for a house for years, and TJ was at church. I was on a trip with my mom, and God told him, hey, dude, you're not gonna get a house until you get married. So he went to an open house after church down the way, and we got the house, and TJ's like, we have to get married in 2 weeks. I made a pact with God that we'd get married before we move into this house, so get ready, find a dress, So we got married in the backyard of the house and then moved in that night, and that was our first night in the house. Our love has just been so strong, and we really value the covenant of our marriage. Watching my son learn about the Bible and God and Jesus, grace, it's awesome. It's a really scary place to be sitting next to your family, having all of these questions and these doubts, or to even be a wholehearted believer parent, knowing that your child is going through this. To the person struggling right now, I'd say just keep seeking the truth. Keep seeking love. God is love. And, I think that's what we're all trying to find, whether it's in, crystal powers or yoga or personal development books, all these things. We're seeking love. We're seeking real, true, raw, beautiful love. And you can keep seeking and seeking it, But in my experience, and I know it's true, real love comes from God. Just tap into it and ask to understand it more, and it will stack up eons outside and above any of this earthly, worldly searching for that. Just seek for truth and love.